That's the Mecha creed. I mean, I'm against them. But again, there are black Israelite movement that think everybody else is the devil and I'm the devil. I don't hate black people because there's a big group of black people that are really bad and racist and think they're the master race. I mean, every group has these groups. And I talk about, the things Israel does and how they persecute and censor Christians in Israel, but that people don't know about that. And I just constantly speak out against all this. And then there's this obsession. You must say it's the Catholics. You must say it's the Scientologists. You must say it's the Jews. You must say it's the Masons. And I'm explaining that it's a system of governmental control that's got the leadership of all of these major groups in it. And so it's not an attack on the individual group. But go ahead, make your point.
Yeah, and that's all good. Alex, here's the thing, though. You're one of our few outlets that's out here speaking the truth, okay? We know that NBC, CBS, ABC, Time Warner, Fox, all controlled by Jewish people. So you're one of the few places that actually can be an outlet for the truth. Now, I'm not saying all Jews are bad either. As a matter of fact, I would never have found out what Jews were involved in 9/11 if I hadn't been woken up by you and people like you on the Internet. But the further you dig into 9/11, there is a huge number of dual citizen Jew people that were in our government, such as Ari Fleshner, Richard Pearl, Paul Wolfowitz, Douglas Feith, people like that. Now, those weren't blacks; those are Jews, and they're at high levels. Now we got.
But here's the issue. Here's the issue. I'm talking about intellectual honesty. That's what you're talking about. You're here on the show talking about this, and tomorrow people will say that this was caught secretly off air and wasn't on air. They make stuff up. I'm just telling you, you're not going to find more COINTELPRO anywhere else than in the Jews run it all crowd. I'm just telling you that the system wants to make it about that. Every time the media's here, they bring that up. They want me to say that. They want us to go down that road. They want us to discredit ourselves in the eyes of the entire general public. And so, I mean, there it is. I mean, people of all the different groups, the Masons run it, the Catholics run it, the Jews run it, the Scientologists run it. It is the most popular view that the Jews are the New World Order, the entire system. And, I mean, what do you say to that? What do you do with that? I'm here trying to expose the agenda of the government. You can decide who's running it, who's in control of it, and what they do on Sundays or whatever. I'm going to expose the New World Order for the wide population and let them make their decision about it and let you call in and give us your take and your view. But the Jew bashers will lie and say this never even happened on this show. We got a long way to go and a short time to get there. I need to get into the latest on health care, the latest on the tragedy in Haiti, the latest on Bankergate, and also the airport naked body scanners now to go nationwide in mobile vans to go into the courthouses, already going into courthouses like Denver. That is coming up. But I wanted to tell a story about conditioning, about brainwashing here briefly. Chris Matthews called about a month ago and said, I want to come down and interview you in person. Then he had some family issue, and he's doing a town hall tomorrow in Houston, so he didn't come here personally. I don't like Chris Matthews, and took over a show in Denver with Bullhorn at the DNC in 2008. That's the extra in the Obama deception, but if you want to see it. But the point is that so he sent Kate, very nice lady. She's the director, because it's not for his hardball show. It's 3 times a year. He makes a documentary. He made the Kennedy special that they aired more than 20 times. So this is a special they're going to air over and over again about the Tea Parties. And she's in here in my studio. And, I lease this building. It's mine. Several of my staff have concealed carries. You don't have to have a concealed carry in your own business if it's the policy to have a firearm. And we don't have armed guards here. We get death threats occasionally. If somebody comes in here and tries something with me or my staff, I will defend myself. And that was so radical to her because she looked under the counter here and saw a firearm. And It was near the end of the interview, right before I went live, and she'd been acting totally normal the whole time, and suddenly she started to look like she was about to cry, and she went and looked completely frightened. And I was like, "What's wrong?" She says, "Is that a gun? Is that a gun?" And I said, "Yes, it is. I have a little pistol safe under here, but when we're live and when I'm here, it's my job to protect, and it's right here. It's not going to come out like a snake and bite you." And she was literally in tears, and she kind of ran out of the room after the interview and was breathing heavy and afraid. Talk about pre-programming. Talk about intense psychological brainwashing. And I said, "If you see a cop with a gun, though, you don't feel scared." She went, "Oh." See, why does she not feel scared? See, when I see a cop with a gun, if the government wasn't becoming a tyranny, I would feel good. But more and more, when I see SWAT teams and helicopters and surveillance, I feel bad. When I see a citizen with a gun, occasionally still a rifle and a gun rack in the countryside, I go, "Man, America isn't dead yet." I mean, just 10 years ago, half the people in the town I live had guns in their gun rack. Now the cops pull you over and try to arrest you, even though there's no law against it. People come in your house, carpet cleaners, you name it. They see a gun rack. They call the police thinking guns are illegal. They've created the perception that guns in the hands of citizens are some deadly, horrible thing. And I've seen this before. But, I mean, you talk about brainwashing. This was it. A nice lady. And can you imagine her living in New York? Can you imagine her living in D.C.? Can you imagine other women where they're disarmed and you hear their 911 calls where they're waiting 10, 15, 20 minutes? "He's breaking in. He's got a knife. Ah, please." In fact, pull up 911 call of woman being killed. Let's pull up a few of those. I mean, there's hundreds of them. And just hear them begging and screaming. Their daddies didn't even train them to grab a butcher knife or a baseball bat. I mean, what daddy doesn't take his girls out once they're 5 years old and teach them how to use a bow and arrow, and then a BB gun, and then a little shotgun to show them the power, and then you lock them up, but you teach them safety? I mean, my little 5-year-old daughter with a BB gun can shoot an apple at 15 feet away. She was shooting them yesterday in my backyard. And by the time she's 10, she's going to be able to, really shoot good with a shotgun and a .22. My son's becoming a good shot. And I couldn't imagine sending my daughters out into the world, sending my son out. I mean, parents don't teach their sons or their daughters to fight back. In these public schools, they teach you somebody's beating you up, try to call 911 or curl up in a ball. I mean, let me tell you, 30 years ago, when I was 5, 6 years old, I mean, my dad taught me, don't start fights, but finish them. And I remember I started coming home beat up when I was like 10, 11, 12, and he'd say, well, I don't care if there's 4 or 5 of them. You need to fight back. And I learned how to fight back. I mean, we've lost our fighting spirit. And I see articles every week in England where somebody will break in a woman's house. I saw one last week. And they'll brandish a knife. And they come and arrest them. Or a crook falls through a skylight. They sue you. Or one guy had been robbed, famous case, 3 times and beaten up. He had his grandfather's shotgun hidden. He's an old man himself. Shot the guy with buckshot as he ran out of the house. He was trying to rape his wife. A bunch of other stuff was going on. There'd been another case where they were trying to rape the wife. What was the case with one of the Beatles? He died of cancer a few years ago. Yeah, George Harrison. Yeah, that was the case. The guy's on his wife, attacking him, and his wife, he's chanting Hare Krishna, like a ghost dance, like that'll stop it. And his wife breaks the vase over the guy's head, and then she got in trouble. And I see cases where a guy will be attacking, stabbing, and someone pushes him out a window, and they go to prison for it. See, the government is run by criminals. And when the government runs things and they're criminals, they don't want you to think you can defend yourself. They don't want you to have that instinct that it's normal and natural. You're supposed to call the government for aid. Look at the Koreans during the L.A. riots. They were the only ones that didn't get their neighborhoods burned down because they stood there with firearms. Look at every time in the U.S. now when somebody breaks in somebody's house and somebody kills them, the media says, oh, they need to arrest this guy. He shot the guy in his house at night. Well, what are you supposed to do? There's a reason Texas has a crime rate on average 3 times lower than Chicago or New York. Because in Chicago and New York, people have 5, 6, 7 locks on their doors. They're scared to defend themselves with a knife. I mean, you don't have a lot of breaking and entering and home invasions when people are home in Texas and Vermont and Arizona and places, because you break in somebody's house in Texas or somebody's business, they're just going to kill you. And I'm so proud there's still some red-blooded strength left to where literally somebody sees a gun over here underneath the counter and goes, literally, I can't describe it. She was like, got tears in her eyes, and I thought I was making her cry with what I was saying. I was like, well, I know I'm a good speaker, but I didn't know I was that good a speaker. She's like, is that a gun? She was, and then she was, during the last few, I've only have a few questions left. She was like, let me ask you about this. And as if it was going to like jump out and attack her. I mean, what have people turned into in this country? Cars kill conservatively 10 to 14 times. It fluctuates 12, 13, 14 times, 10 times every year. But at least 10 times what guns do.